Hi everyone, welcome to Joelmar's War in the East channel's second technical capsule. In today's episode, we will be looking at the support unit's flow, the techniques to use it, and why it is worthwhile to invest time on it. First, let's open the updated manual version 255. If you didn't already, there are 3 main articles concerning the support units that you should read before viewing this clip. You will find them at sections 7.4, 7.5.2, and 7.7.3. Being aware of the basic concepts behind those rules will help you understand today's subject more easily. Okay, now that the basics are cleared, let's dive in, starting with a little info on support units. They are off-map battalions or regiments, meaning that they are not displayed by counters on the map, but instead are attached to HQs and listed in the attached support list in the HQ's unit window. With the already high number of combat units, HQs, air bases, and others on the map, this abstraction is quite necessary. There are many types of support units. They can be artillery, AA, AT, rockets, self-propelled guns or assault guns, heavy tanks, specialized infantry like machine gunners or reconnaissance, pioneers, and construction. But note that the pioneers and construction battalions have their own separate automatic flow and that they are not directly concerned by today's subject. See the manual section 7733 for more details on pioneers and construction battalions' permanent support levels. Usually, support units don't contribute much CV to the battle, but they create disruption and also destroy and damage units, thus reducing the enemy fighting capacity before the final CV calculations occur. They also help to counter the support units of the enemy. The nature of support units is, as the name implies, to give support and a little boost where needed. Therefore, in real life, they are not attributed to HQs in a permanent basis. They are usually kept back in strategic or operational reserve pools until they are temporarily assigned where they are needed. Of course, the nature of operation means that often those temporary assignments can become semi-permanent when a formation is involved in continuous combat for a long time. But most often, it's not the case. War in the East contains a mechanism to reproduce this process, which is the support unit's automatic flow. But this process involves some time investment on the part of the player. Alternatively, you can assign the support units to HQs where you wish to have support and then lock the HQs so the support units remain where they are and are excluded from the automatic flow process. You can even specify to lock all HQs in the game options screen when you start a new game. As everything in War in the East, things are a little more complicated than that, of course, and a number of combinations of both methods can be used. As any unit in the game, support units can be assigned from HQ to HQ at the cost of 1 administration point for each transfer. But keep in mind that these transfers are not always possible if HQs are too far from each other. Anyhow, if this method can be used in cases of emergency, reality is that with the sheer number of support units in the game, the cost of doing so becomes prohibitive very fast, and therefore it's not an option for the day-to-day management. It can be very tempting to fill your most important Axis Corps or Soviet Corps and armies with support units, lock HQs, and don't bother with the support units management at all. But there are 3 important setbacks to that. You will often end up not being able to easily get additional or specialized SUs where and when you need it. You can add to that the fact that your support units will always be themselves in better supply when they participate in combat after being pulled or pushed down from a higher HQ that is on a railhead. Another side benefit is that when an HQ full of support unit moves, it also augments truck use and wear, and the support unit's fatigue goes up. For those reasons, it is a good practice not to move an HQ that is full of support units. There are often exceptions due to the necessity, of course, but it's a good thing to keep that in mind. Finally, when a unit is further from the enemy, it helps in keeping its fatigue down and build up experience when it is below its national moral. Bottom line, support units may be small, but their numbers add up to the stress and friction of the machine. Another thing that must be noted is that HQ's lock affect the locked HQ and all its attached HQs and their children. So by example, if you lock an army group or front, all the armies or corps HQs down the chain in its OOB will be locked too. Same thing if you lock an Axis army, its attached corps will be locked. The best way to achieve flexibility and supply efficiency for your support units is therefore to make sure they are never assigned to lower HQs longer than needed. And the best method to achieve that is to open up completely the supply flow by making sure all your HQs are unlocked, but also that all HQs that are not in the I command category are at support level 0, and finally all I commands are at support level 9. This means that SUs always flow up in the chain towards I command HQs in the next logistic phase, and those not pulled back down for 1 to 3 turns will all end up in their I command HQs and be available everywhere to be pulled, which gives great flexibility. That said, in the first years of the war, the Soviets are never very far from their rails, so for supplies they get much less benefit from the time investment needed in reassigning SUs every turn. The last items we will be looking at are the push and pull methods. When you wish to assign a support unit to an HQ, the most obvious and easier method is to use the Assign button in the unit window. The biggest advantages to that method are the ease of use and the magical ability to pull down an SU from any of its higher HQs in the chain. The two disadvantages is that it always gives priority to pull the available SUs in the most remote HQ in the chain. So even if there are 10 howitzer of a requested type in an Axis Corps or Soviet Army immediate higher HQ, and only one at its High Command HQ, the Corps will pull down the one at its High Command HQ first. The other disadvantage is that you can't choose the unit that is assigned, so no way to assess its experience, moral, or tow level beforehand. That is a problem since the ideal is to pull down SUs from the nearest HQ so we don't empty the higher HQs in the chain. A solution to that is to use the push method. It is a little more complicated and not always possible, but it covers the needs most of the time. To push down a unit, you use the Reassign Unit to Another HQ button in the Units window. There is no AP cost to reassign a unit down the chain, the same as for combat units, so it is a free way to make sure that you don't pull all your SUs in the same armies or army groups. And this way you can choose exactly what unit you want to pull if there is a choice. It is also the only way to do it without paying APs. There are two disadvantages to it though. The first is that the units listed in the attached support list of an HQ unit window are listed by their names and not their types, which forces you to open the support units window to get what type it is. The other disadvantage is that when a higher HQ is too far from the destination HQ, the unit reassignment is not available, which is another good reason to try to keep as many support units in high commands. To sum things up, here are the main features to remember when using the support unit flow. In the HQ tab of the Commander report, set I command HQs to support level 9, all others to support level 0. This will make them flow up to their higher HQ in 2 or 3 turns depending on the length of your command chain. It will give you greater flexibility to get support units where they are needed only when they are needed. It saves trucks and helps get more supply to your spearheads. When an HQ moves, the support units they contain also move, which augments their fatigue and damage. And more trucks are again required from the pool to motorize all non-motorized SUs. So it's always better to move HQs when they have no SUs attached, which is much easier to manage when your SUs flow up automatically each turn. When not used, it's better to keep SUs in an HQ at least 10x's from enemy units to favor their moral and experience growth when they are below national moral. A good example of when to lock an HQ while using the support unit flow is when you know the HQ will be involved in continuous fighting for a number of consecutive turns. Letting the SUs flow up at every logistic phase and pulling them down after won't give you any supply or truck advantage, because SUs always get their supply in the HQ they were assigned to at the end of the preceding turn, so locking the HQ in those instances will save you the time to reassign them down. The support unit flow has more benefits and is therefore more useful for an attacker far from his railheads than to a defender, so probably less useful for the Soviets at the beginning of the game, and also for the Germans when they switch to the defensive. I know this process may sound daunting at first, and you might end up sometimes forgetting to assign support units before an important battle, but I went through that quite easily and it soon became a second nature. Finally, we looked at both the pull and push methods. The pull method uses the assign button in the destination HQ and pulls support units from higher HQ in the chain. It always pulls the requested SU from the highest HQ in the chain where it is available. The distance doesn't matter between the higher HQ and the destination HQ. The push method uses the reassign unit to another HQ button in the SU's unit window. Using this method doesn't cost any AP if a support unit or combat unit is pushed down the chain to a subordinated HQ. Using this method helps to form bigger support unit pools at higher HQs because the higher HQs are not the only one to answer the request for support units. This method is not always available because the source HQ must be within 10x's of the destination HQ if the destination HQ is an Axis Corps or a Soviet Corps army. But only the 20 nearest eligible HQs are available as a destination. Both methods have their pros and cons, and both must be used as the situation requires to get the best of your support unit management. So this completes this capsule on the support unit flow. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more. Ciao everyone!
На поле танки грохотали, солдаты шли в последний бой,